Hi everyone, today I got a tutorial for you and that's how to edit HDR videos in Final Cut Pro. It's actually quite easy and I know there's going to be a lot of you who are going to be trying to put HDR into your workflows for your 2021 video content. That's something that I'm considering. Honestly, I'm kind of almost going on the side of not doing it, but I'll tell you more about that later. But if you want to make HDR videos, it's actually very easy to do in Final Cut Pro. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Although I just want to point out and clarify that I'm assuming you're doing digital distribution to websites like Vimeo and YouTube. Do not use this tutorial if you're going to be distributing, theatrically in cinemas or film or television. Completely different standards, and that requires completely different equipment. I'm really assuming you're using consumer grade equipment. So that's either the iPhone 12, which is going to be a hot gift this holiday season. I did a review on that. I have a HDR video on my channel using the iPhone 12 camera. Or I'm assuming you're using like a mirrorless camera or a DSLR in log mode and you're kind of wanting to push it out as HDR. And that's kind of what we're getting at here. And I'm assuming you're using something like a MacBook Pro as your monitor, which has 500 nits of brightness. You're not using, an EZO monitor or a Flanders Scientific HDR monitor. This is a tutorial again for consumer level equipment that you're publishing those videos to YouTube and Vimeo. So I just want to clarify that before we get started, because depending on your method of distribution, you'd have a very different workflow. So where we're going to start is here in Compressor, and what we're going to do is create a new setting, and this is really simple. So what you might want to do is go ahead and select QuickTime Movie, and I'm just going to call this your HDR YouTube output. So really simple. You can add in a description if you want, and what we're going for here is relatively simple. We want 4K as you do, so we're going to go for 3840 by 2160. I like to be very specific in my compressor settings. Some people might just let it happen automatically, but I really hate having to re-export stuff and I don't want anything to ever get confused. I mean, this is how I want my content to be made, so I always go for 4K. Now perhaps you have not a good internet connection, you can choose 2K or 1080p. I'll leave it up to you, but I'm going 4K. I'm also based in Ireland, so we work off of 25 frames a second for my Sony a7S II. Now, if you're using the iPhone 12, please set it to 24. And we're going to set it for 24 because I'm going to be working off some iPhone 12 footage here. Color space, Rec 2020 HLG. This is what you want to go for, and I'll discuss that more later on. But you want Rec 2020 HLG. None of this is needed. No metadata is needed. Codec, you want HEVC, also known as H265. This is the new standard. Everybody should be using it. You get better quality, smaller file sizes, and it supports HDR content. Now we're going to go for 10-bit color, and that's going to be crucial to also getting a great color gamut from your new videos. And in terms of data rate, you can enter whatever you want. I actually like to go custom. I like to basically set mine to 100,000. Now I live in Ireland, so I have very fast internet. We have gigabit download and fast upload. We have fiber to the home. Depending on where you are, you might want to change that. I think 50,000 is really great also, because the iPhone kind of records around 30. So I think if you export in 50, you should be pretty good and not get too much compression. But again, I'll let you decide that based on your internet speed. Now, in terms of this, include Dolby Vision 8.4 metadata. You can if you want. I actually haven't tested this with YouTube because, again, YouTube's HDR and a lot of these internet platforms, their HDR is emerging. So I'm actually trying to make this into as much of a standard as possible, like keep it super standard. I'm going to experiment with that on my own in 2021 and see what the results look like. But this is tried and tested. I can give you great results if you follow this tutorial. Do not tick it. So this is basically all you need to do, and it saves automatically. Now you can go into audio and set these up if you want. Maybe you're recording in 5.1. I'm assuming you're not. You're probably a stereo person. And it just saves like that. It's called, YouTube HDR output. You're good to go. So let's go ahead and jump over into Final Cut Pro. This was the iPhone camera project I did about a few weeks ago that you can watch on YouTube in HDR to get an idea of what HDR video looks like when it's done properly. But we're going to go ahead and start from scratch to give you guys the complete workflow. So what you want to do is start a new library, and I'm going to put this on my external hard drive, and I'm just going to call this HDR test. You can call it whatever you want. The first thing you want to do is, once that happens, is you want to go into your library properties and make it a wide gamut HDR. Then what you want to do is create a new project for yourself, and obviously enter in the appropriate settings. So if you're recording on an iPhone 12, you're recording at 4K and most likely at 24 frames a second, although please adjust this to whatever you wish. This is where you want to, this is the important setting. It's your color space. I actually think a lot of the appeal of this iPhone 12 and what's been blowing people away when they're trying to make these HDR videos actually isn't like the HDR itself. I actually think people are just being impressed by the color space. For many years, content creators, you know, you watch these tech videos and they're always like, oh, the MacBook Pro has a DCI color space, or, you know, it's 100% P3, and they use it as a selling point. But I'm like, these people aren't actually making their videos for that color space. They're making their videos in something called Rec 709, which is on the sRGB spectrum, which obviously the MacBook Pros would have 100% of. But Rec 709, which you can kind of see here, has been in monitors for decades. In fact, I reviewed a 20-year-old Apple Studio Cinema display that had 100% Rec 709 coverage. So a lot of videos you're watching on YouTube are in that color space. So when you're seeing these people being blown away by the iPhone 12 Dolby Vision HDR, I'm still trying to determine if they're being blown away by the actual fact it's HDR, or for the fact that the first time in their lives they're probably seeing a color gamut beyond Rec 709. They're probably seeing something in Rec 2020. So I think that's kind of humorous, and that's kind of just a bit of a nerd moment. But basically, long story short, please click Rec 2020 HLG because that's what the iPhone 12 uses. And if you have a Sony a7 III, you can also record in the HLG color space. You can see it as one of your color profile settings. And if you want to, you know, shoot and log, HLG is a really great one for YouTube that I've noticed. Vimeo might be able to do PQ, but we're going to go with HLG because it has compatibility with YouTube and Vimeo. So go ahead and create your project, and I'm going to call this the HLG test. So once you start that, oh wow, I'm a rambler. 8 minutes recording. Gonna drop this in. And as you can see, it does look quite different to what you guys saw in the previous output. So if you go back library, this is how you probably want your video to look, and you know, this is where we started. And you've heard a lot of people complain that they've had difficulty editing in HLG and HDR because typically this is what they first see, and it's quite alarming. But I'm going to show you through the magic of color grading how to kind of fix it up. So the first thing you want to do is actually go into your color curves. And what we're trying to basically just figure out is what's wrong with this image. You know, it's overblown. So you're probably wanting to lower it. And as you can see, it's already making a change for the better. So you want to get it to levels that look more comfortable, a bit flatter. So I'm going to go for something like this. You might even want to take it in from the bottom like that if you want, just to add a bit of dynamicness to it. You know, increase the shadows, have a nicer contrast. That is something you can do here. Also, these walls behind me are navy, so I'm going to go ahead and just boost that. Again, you have so much more color gamut with Rec 2020 compared to Rec 709. I do think it can be throwing people for quite a loop, because it's HDR, so it's not recording in Rec 709. It is just capturing more colors by default. So as you can see, it's instantly much better than where we started. And then from here on out, just color grade it as you would normally color grade. One thing to note for a lot of you, compared to Rec 709, you want to be really gentle with your color changes. In Rec 709, when you use the color grade, basically, you might remember yourself dragging up these color boards to like 30% or 50%. Well, when you work in Rec 2020, let alone Rec 2020 HLG, a little goes a long way. Like you can see that just a 3% color in, you know, like in the highlights is a drastic difference. Like, do you remember like how in your old timelines you'd go so far as like maybe 15 or 20%, and you're already getting quite a difference. Like at 17, that thing is just way too blown out. This is what to expect when you work in a color gamut bigger than Rec 709. So it's not a bug. It's just basically a little goes a long way. And here you can make your own changes as you typically do. You can increase your exposure to try to get that nice contrasty look. And once you're basically happy with it, that's all you have to do. The thing that really throws people off when they first work with HDR footage is they see footage that looks like this. All you gotta do is go into your color curves and fix it. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. That's the only step. That's what throws people off, and that's all you have to do to get your footage looking much better. And then you can basically stylize it whatever way you want. So if we go back to the iPhone 12 project, I've had quite a few color grades I did to it. Like I did a lot. Like I had some saturation curves to bring out maybe the blue in the background. I changed the hue of the blue. You can change it up whatever way you want. The main thing you're looking for again is your color curves. Mine's quite dramatic here, but that basically fixed the footage the way I want it. You can use color curves to almost flatten the brightness of your image to kind of give it a log look, and then you kind of go in with your color board and then through the exposure tab, you're kind of able to go ahead and fix it up. So here I kind of did a global, I boosted it globally, and then I kind of brought down the shadows. You can do it whatever way you want, experiment with it. You're going to find a style that works for you. And then that's just me boosting it with the hue and saturation curves. And then I did another curve where I kind of just lowered the luma on the low end and boosted on the high end. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to work with non-HDR elements. For example, if you make tech videos, that might be something like B-roll, graphics, overlays, anything. It's pretty simple. So let's drag in this text generator. So you might, for example, want to put some text into your video. We'll just call this should be white. Why are you gray? This is simple to fix. All you have to do is search for HDR tools. The reason why we're doing this is because these, we call them generators in Final Cut Pro. They're actually made for Rec 709 or Rec 2020. They're not made for HDR. So what we're going to actually click is PQ to HLG. So as you can see, that kind of fixes your generators, and it works for absolutely everything. Now, for example, another thing that you might have installed is like a plugin or some effects you bought, maybe like to, like animate something, like, leave a comment below or whatever. And as you can see, you're seeing the same issue here. And again, all you have to do is apply HDR tools, and you're going from PQ to this, and you're going back down to 100 nits, because remember, SDR is 100 nits, HDR is 1000. So by using HDR tools, we're able to kind of fix it and conform it. And again, you can do that for everything, whether you're going to be throwing in pictures or you're going to be throwing in, videos that you downloaded off the net as B-roll footage, maybe something like from an Apple event that you want to, insert as some B-roll. This is what you do. One thing I will say is if you're working with photographs, with color grading, you actually don't have to use HDR tools. No idea what this picture could be. Oh, thank God! I didn't take any dodgy pictures, but that could have been anything. Again, you can use something like PQ to HLG, and that'll kind of give you a very conformed standard image. But you can absolutely just go ahead and color grade this and get the effect you're looking for, and you can unlock that extra color gamut that you normally wouldn't get if you conform down to Rec 709. But yeah, you can totally do it this way. Pictures are the one exceptions. I mean, look, in fairness, you can kind of do the same thing with this. You can kind of go into color grading and, boost it up, throw the saturation. Again, it's very much like you're working in log. However, as we're seeing here, the whites are still not so white. So I would recommend, for easiness and, just sanity, just use HDR tools. What's great is, for those who don't know, you can copy and paste your effects. So if you throw in a load of B-roll, you can basically just highlight everything on your keyboard, Command-Shift-V, and then just paste in your HDR tools, and everything will just fix itself in one go. So that's something really simple that you can do. And yeah, all you have to do then is save your video. So there's two ways you can do it. Obviously, you can set it to compressor as a new batch and export from compressor. And we made the effect here, the HDR YouTube output. I actually like to export from inside of Final Cut Pro because I've been actually having a lot of issues with compressor recently. Like compressor would keep crashing on me and I haven't been able to fix why. So I actually typically export from within Final Cut Pro. If you want to do that and use those YouTube HDR settings, all you have to do is press Add Destination, press Compressor Settings, and then you should see it here, which is the YouTube one, which I have it here. Yeah, HDR YouTube output. This will allow you to export from within Final Cut Pro. So if you're having issues with Compressor 2, you just export it like that. Save Bob is your uncle, Nansatori, and you're gonna have a HDR video that you can upload to YouTube straight away, and it's really easy. At the start of the video, I said I wasn't quite sure if I'm gonna change my workflow in 2021 and basically just start uploading content all in HDR. YouTube is pretty good in that it will will create versions of HDR and non-HDR, so it's not like I'd ever have to worry that a lot of people would be watching the video incorrectly. The main thing with working with HDR for YouTube, and this is something you guys need to kind of recognize and identify, is that it takes YouTube quite a while to do all the conversions and basically all the processing, like the HD processing. I've actually noticed on the iPhone camera video that I did a few weeks ago, it took up to 48 hours for YouTube to create all the HDR versions and the non-HDR versions. So for someone like me who's quite chaotic, and they'll upload a video to YouTube hours before it's due for, you know, a certain time zone or, you know, a certain hour of the day, HDR wouldn't necessarily be what I'd recommend right now. This is a workflow, and a HDR YouTube workflow is something I'd recommend for people who upload their videos ahead of time, like 48 hours in advance. You know, they have videos scheduled to be uploaded on Wednesday and they upload it on Monday, because it gives YouTube plenty of time to process the video for HDR and non-HDR in 4K, 2K, 1080p, 720. You get the drift. That's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend you make HDR videos if that's the type of uploader you are. For that reason, is something that I'm considering not actually doing in 2021. I'll see how YouTube as a platform evolves, perhaps because the iPhone 12 will become such a popular device and people will want to make HDR video. Perhaps we'll probably see some improvements there. But yeah, if you want to make HDR videos, it's really simple, really easy. This is how you do it, and I hope it helped you out quite a bit. If you have any questions, do leave a comment below and let me know, and I'll try to help you. But if you liked the video and you want to see more video editing tutorials, also let me know in the comments. I'm not sure if I should do more of these or less. But do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for future uploads. Hope you guys have an amazing Christmas and a happy new year, and stay safe wherever you are in the world. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.